payments on my account?
Sure. Okay, your balance on the account is $35.
The Nevis Water Department team is always ready to serve you, our valued customers. A conservation tip that you can live by. The water you save today may save a life tomorrow.
All of our divisions work collaboratively to ensure that we provide the best service to our customers. Follow us on Facebook at Nevis Water Department, where you will obtain regular updates on our daily operations. Additionally, for any water-related emergencies, you are encouraged to contact the numbers that are listed on the screen. Remember, conserve water, as water is life, so we must treat it right.
The committed workers of our Nevis Water Department continue to work diligently to ensure that the people of Nevis have a safe, sustainable and dependable water supply here on the island of Nevis.
One, two, three.
Justin, good night.
Yeah, I think this works.
Good night, and welcome to the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration Town Hall meeting. We commence our series of Town Hall meetings on Monday at the Pond Hill Community Center, and we are present here tonight at the Jessups Community Center in the beautiful parish of St. Thomas's. We are pleased to engage with those who are present here tonight and those who are viewing on our live stream. We are eager to engage you. We want to hear your ideas, your suggestions, your concerns, and your issues. Your voice matters, and your ideas, issues, it is very important to us. So we are looking forward tonight for a fruitful discussion, and we are asking everyone to please be open, be frank, and do not shy away from asking your questions. Allow me at this time to introduce our panelists for this evening. We have Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley, Premier of Nevis, Honorable Spencer Brand, Minister of Communication and Works et al., and Honorable U. Troy Liburd, Minister of Education, Youth and Sports et al. Please also allow me to recognize other cabinet members, Honorable Eric Evelyn, Deputy Premier, and Honorable Senator Janelle Nisbet. I also want to welcome other senior government officials and persons from the community who are able to join us this evening. Now, tonight is simple. We are going to have presentations from the panelists, brief presentation. I'm allowing them 5 minutes. I know sometimes us as ministers and politicians, we tend to talk a lot, but we have to stick to time because we have a lot of important questions to address. So each panelist would be given 5 minutes to give their presentation, after which we will be accepting questions on the floor and from our online stream. Additionally, we have received questions from persons within the community. So we are going to try and ask as many questions as we can this evening. I start with Honorable Troy Liburd.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and a pleasant good evening to all. I beg to respectfully adopt the protocol that you have so ably established. Of course, let me recognize the members at the head table, Premier and Minister Brand, who are here, and of course our Deputy Premier and Honorable Senator who are sitting in the front row. I've already checked my watch to see what my starting time is because I only have 5 minutes. As you would be aware, I am responsible for education, youth, sports, information technology, and the like. I like to think of it as the ministry that deals with the young people. And in terms of education, there is no more significant indicator of what's happening in terms of education than our graduations. And it just so happens that this town hall falls in the heart of the graduation season for our primary schools here on Nevis. And so I want to start off by speaking a little bit about our primary graduations. Of course, I want to extend my congratulations and congratulations on behalf of the entire government to all of our primary school students who are graduating across the island of Nevis at this time. I have tried to make it to as many of the graduations as I could make, and I tell you, for each different graduation that you go to, there is a different storyline. There are compelling storylines at each graduation, and that makes me feel like the work that that the work is important, that the students are responding, that our level of delivering education here in Nevis and our standard is very, very high. And so I want to commend all of our students who are graduating. At the same time, I want to also congratulate the parents and the guardians and all of the other family members and friends who have really stepped up and put in to help our children to get them to where they are now. You know, this is certainly a proud moment for all of them. It's not just a big moment for the students, but being at these graduations, you see the look of pride on the faces of the parents. I think it was at the graduation this morning where the young lady, I think young Bailey, who was the valedictorian, she was speaking, and when she paused to speak about her parents, she couldn't speak. She stopped and she really teared up. And the father went on stage to comfort her, but you know, he was no better because he was on stage crying also. And that type of crying is not crying for pain. It is proud emotion. And those are the things that make the work worth it. When I see the look of emotion on the faces of the parents and of, you know, all of the persons at the graduations. And so I want to congratulate our parents. I also want to extend congratulations, worth it for me. And as a society, I would want us to come together and to be more accommodating of persons who are differently abled. Of course, sticking on education, we are now at the start of the month of July, but the month of June, we celebrate in the Federation as Child Month. And we really look at our early childhood learners from daycare, preschool, up until about grade 2. And this year we were celebrating our 40th year of Child Month here in the Federation. And our theme for this year was From Small Steps to Big Strides, celebrating 40 years with pride. Our month started out with a church service, which was held on the 2nd of June at the Gingerland Seventh-day Adventist Church. And at that time, we honored teacher Vianna Stapleton Powell, the owner of V&J's Preschool, who has been a long-standing educator here on the island of Nevis. We also had our grand parade through the streets of Charlestown, and that was held on Friday, the 13th of June. And at that time, we did something a little bit different this year, where we had a grand marshal for our parade, and that was in the person of teacher Vernitha Collins, who is the owner of the Vern and Lou Preschool. And I think it was a wonderful experience coming through the streets of Charlestown. I'm sure a lot of you were there, and those who didn't get there in person, we were able to do something a little bit different this year from what we have done in the past. We were able to live stream the event. So persons who did not get to make it to the parade, they could, stay in their office and look at it. I'm getting some signal about the time. I'm only 4 minutes in. Okay, just a little bit about sports before I put down the mic. I was very happy today to go to the E.T. Willett Park in Charlestown and catch a bit of cricket. We have the West Indies Under-19 Rising Stars tournament being played in the Federation, and we are able to host some games over here in Nevis. I'm very happy and proud that we are able to do that. Just a few weeks ago, we undertook some major renovations to the main stand at the E.T. Willett Park to ensure that we could accommodate this cricket. The Department of Sports and the Ministry, of course, we have been doing quite a lot to facilitate sports here on the island of Nevis, and I'm hopeful that when the questions come, that I'll be able to elaborate a bit more on that. So with those few words, I want to hand it back to the chair.
Thank you, Honorable Liebert. Difficulties. They can hear me. Thank you, Honorable Troy Liebert. I will now ask Honorable Spencer Brand to give his presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. Let me say a very special good evening to our Premier and Deputy Premier, of course, my other cabinet colleague, Uton Troy Liebert, Madam Minister John Elizabeth, various permanent secretaries, heads of department. Good evening, and good evening to all those who are viewing this edition of this town hall here in the heart of Jessups Village. I want to speak very quickly about some infrastructural developments that we are hoping to embark on in the constituency of St. Thomas's. And the Public Works Department and the Ministry of Communications have basically sought to reposition itself over the next 12 to 18 months. In that, we have basically taken a decision or have taken a position where we do not envision that there will be any major road construction on the island of Nevis this year, for various reasons. And we thought that we would use that opportunity to pivot to some of the secondary village roads, some of those roads that has been, for want of a better word, neglected for a long time. And we recognize that here in St. Thomas's, there certainly is quite a few. I am happy to say to you that we have already sought to be mobilized on one of those such projects right here above the Jessups Community Center. We were waiting for equipment for our water department. It was a handheld butt fusion machine. We have a large butt fusion machine that join our 6-inch and 8-inch pipes. So that was a little cumbersome to join our 2-inch pipes. So we would have ordered one to join our 2-inch pipes, because in this area we will be using some 2-inch pipes because of the requirements, so to speak, on our water infrastructure in that area. We got that piece of equipment, I believe it was only yesterday, so we are hoping that we will see the water department be mobilized to have that 2-inch main installed, and then we will come in and have the road done. We are also seeing that we will have to build a retaining wall right outside of the community center. We would have a quotation on that already. We have not made a final determination on that, but we are hoping that we'll be able to make that determination and get that contractor going to have that work on the way. We also are looking at some drainage throughout the various constituency as well. As you know, we are presently in the area of Low Street, dealing with some drainage. We have looked long and hard at the drainage issue right at the bottom of Jessups. And it has been a major headache in terms of a solution. I know that the engineers have looked at it for quite some time. We have even spoken to the former manager of the Four Seasons, where we thought of connecting that drain into Four Seasons' main drain. But I want to say to you that at the moment, there are a number of projects that is earmarked for the Paradise area on the other side of Mangoes Road. And we were also looking at how best we can merge the drainage from Jessups into some of those developments. We are not necessarily at a final determination on that, but we are hoping that we can make that final determination very shortly and get that project going. It is something that I feel is long overdue, and we are hoping that we can get to that in the not too distant future. We also have some roads in the Bansgot area. I know that the representative for the Bansgot area, I think I'm reading that into what is to be. Mr. Toya Jones has been representing extremely well to have some things done in this constituency. And we are looking at some areas in Bansgot. We are looking at some areas in Clifton. We are also looking at some areas in Cotton Ground and Quaddercourt. But like I said, we are not necessarily embarking on any major road infrastructure. We will be dealing with some secondary village roads that we feel will bring much benefit to the various villages. And we know that in this parish there are quite a number of them. I also want to say to you that we will also be doing some upgrade on our water storage tank right there at the top of Jessups, where we are hoping that we will have it emptied. We are hoping that we will also be able to reseal it and remove and replace the various electrodes that is on it, because we are seeing some signs of deterioration on that tank. It is a critical tank for the Jessups area. It is a critical tank as well that serves Four Seasons, and we want to make sure that when we are completed with that upgrade, that we can be in a sustainable position to provide water for Jessups and to Four Seasons. I also want to say to you that we have had a long-standing issue in terms of some drainage at the top of Barnsgot. Well, not necessarily at the top of Barnsgot, but around the bend going up to Barnsgot. Paradise, thank you. That's a project that we have had for some time. We have had to delay it, but I'm hoping that we can also give that some attention as well going in the not too distant future. It is a critical project because we know that there are a number of families in the area that are being affected and continue to be affected. We would have spoken to all of the property owners some time ago, and the idea of that project is to construct a U-drain from that area in Paradise all the way down to the entrance of our former Premier, the Honorable Walcott Parry. So that's a project that we are looking at, and we are hoping that we can bring that on stream as well in the not too distant future. So those are some areas that we will be focusing on in the short term, in the interim, as we move forward throughout this year and into the first half of 2026. I will pause at that moment because I am reminded in the back that I only had 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
I was just about to stop you. I will now invite our Premier, Honorable Mark A.G. Bradley, to give his presentation. Thank you, Honorable Spencer. In 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and
We'll try.
thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. Those here at the head table, all of those who are here present. As you have heard, we're in we've given ourselves a very short time to make presentations. The expectation is that we would use the majority of the time to hear from you in the audience, but also to answer questions that you might have. I wanted to take an opportunity to speak about the state of healthcare. I recognize that we're in the St. Thomas's parish, but healthcare is something that's important to all of us. And the reason I decided to take that particular approach this evening is because we all know that the healthcare system here has come under constant attack from some quarters. And I want those of you who are old enough to consider that there was a time in Nevis when we had 1 or maybe 2 doctors. That's it. If I remember some of the names, there was a Dr. Platzer who used to be around. And who else?
Dr. Diaz as
well. Well, Diaz came a little later, but these were some of the people that we had. Dr. Diaz, they became household names because those were the only ones who were here. And when sometimes we progress, it is an interesting aspect to the human condition that if you were accustomed to be barefoot and then you started to wear shoes, you then start to say, well, I need the next level up. It is just the nature of things. And oftentimes what happens is that we tend to forget from whence we came and what was. And so a lot of times when I hear the criticisms that are being leveled, I said, I wonder if the people of Nevis actually know the level of investment that has occurred in terms of our healthcare. The reason why I started way back when to talk about when we only had 1 or 2 doctors, I got the statistics tonight, and would you believe that we now have 61 doctors in Nevis? 61. We have 8 of our doctors on the district, that is, they work in the clinics around the island. We have some 30 doctors at our hospital who are employed. These are all employed directly to the government. We have 17 visiting specialists. Those are doctors who come in periodically to offer specialist services. And then we have 6 private doctors, that is, doctors who are doing their thing on the island, but privately. A few of these doctors we share with St. Kitts, specialists that we share with them. But I also think it's important because we are coming from an era where even when we had just 1 or 2 doctors, they were general practitioners. We didn't have any specialists. We now on the island of Nevis have obstetrics and gynecology specialists, orthopedic surgeon specialists. We have 3 surgeons at our hospital for the first time in our history. 3 general surgeons who are employed to us at our hospital. We have an eye care program that is world-renowned. We have people, in fact, a personal note that I tried to get in the other day and they told me they're full because people are coming even from St. Kitts to access our eye care program. We have an internist. We have a cardiologist. We have 2 anesthesiologists. We have a radiologist. We have a pediatrician. We have a plastic surgeon, for those of you who are not comfortable with the way you look. We have a plastic surgeon now. You could go and shift up a few things if you also desire. We have dentists, specialists, and we have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of our young doctors who are currently abroad specializing. I believe we have one who specializes in to be an ophthalmologist. We have one who specializes in to be a radiologist, if I recall correctly. So we have and continue to invest because all of those doctors who go abroad are assisted in some way, shape, or form by the government. We also have introduced some interesting partnerships. So where we don't have specialties available on island, we have worked with others to make that available. I want to publicly record my thanks to Ursula Phillip. Ursula Phillip is of Nevision stock. Her mother is from Nevis, from Brown Hill, the metropolis of Brown Hill. And her mother lived in the States, and the mother wanted to give something back. And so the mother said that she would introduce her doctors and ask them to come to Nevis to offer services. Her mom has sadly passed away, but her daughter, who's also called Ursula, what her mom started. And so through them, we now have access to the Rouse Foundation and Dr. Rouse, who has come, and he's a cardiologist. We now have currently on island Dr. George, who's a pulmonologist, and I learned, and if you don't know, don't be afraid, I didn't know either, that pulmonologist deals with anything to do with the lungs, anything to do with breathing. They're here currently seeing. We also have access to ear, nose, and throat specialists through Dr. Todd Bloom and his team, and we're grateful to all of them. And these visiting specialists, what I find to be of particular interest is that they're offering these services to the people of Nevis for free. So I want that to sort of sink in, because oftentimes when we hear about healthcare and no investment and healthcare isn't going anywhere, these specialists, these doctors, the number of available trained individuals we have access to in Nevis did not come about by chance. I think among this number that I have indicated, again based on the numbers that we've seen, we have 20 of them who are local doctors. That is simply phenomenal. Coming from a place where 2 decades, 3 decades ago, we had 1 doctor, maybe 2. So I want our people to start to understand that it is an ongoing process. Development doesn't come overnight. It takes time. It takes investment. Doctors who are now back here would have gone to study 5, 6 years ago before they were able to qualify and come back. And so we continue to invest. We continue to see the progress that's on the island. And of course, once you hit a certain level, people say, well, no, I want you to go to the next level, and we get that. But I'm just pointing out because sometimes I feel when I hear some of the chatter that people don't actually understand, or they don't have the information as to what we're doing and what's available. Neurosurgery, we have Dr. Jeffrey Liebert, who's Nevision. He comes, he offers his services. Urology, we have Dr. Thwaites, who I believe will say he's Nevision. I think he's Nevision too. His mom is from Nevis. And again, he comes, he offers his services. He has one, perhaps a shortage. And that is what we have been doing as government. Again, a lot of these policies, I suspect we're not advertising nearly enough. So, from 1 or 2 doctors in Nevis to now access to some 61 doctors on the island. And I think that is absolutely astonishing. The time is short. I have, I think, about 4 minutes left. So, let me...
Your time is over.
My time is up already?
Yes.
As Premier, I will take the privilege. I want to take the privilege for an extra minute while I'm here in Jessups, here in St. Thomas's, to encourage our young people to take advantage of the opportunities that are available in Nevis. I can't emphasize that enough, ladies and gentlemen, that we have what I believe is approaching a crisis in our island, where our people, especially our young people, are simply not taking advantage of the opportunities that are available. I have listed here that currently we have available to the youth of Nevis scholarships from the Medical University of the Americas, and that scholarship is in Morocco, Taiwan, Azerbaijan, Serbia, Russia, India. We have OAS scholarships. We have discounted prices at the University of the Virgin Islands. We have scholarships to Monroe College in New York. And we have the Nevis Island Administration offers assistance to students on an annual basis. There could be no good reason, if you are out there and you want to pursue tertiary education, why you cannot do it. Back in the day, we know there were a lot of young people who had ability, but because their parents didn't have the resources, they could not move beyond where they were. That is not Nevis of today. But I'm asking our people to make the effort. We can only provide the opportunity. It is for you now to grab the opportunity. Grab it with both hands. And so those of you who are here who are parents, you have youngsters in 5th and 6th form, tell them that there are opportunities available. And as I always like to remind our people, it is better to get it for free than to pay for it, especially when it comes to education. And I will end now by saying that if 2 of us from 6th form come out and graduate at the same time, one of us goes to Development Bank or National Bank and borrows $100,000 to go off and get a degree. The other one takes advantage of a scholarship. Both of them graduate with their degrees at the same time. Both start to work, middle management in the public service, $6,000 a month. Guess what? One of them has a loan to pay. The other one starts to buy land, build house. By the time their colleague catches up, they're 5 years behind. Simple mathematics. We need to encourage our people to seize the opportunities. The government is doing what it can to create the framework. It is for us to seize the opportunities. And I ask you to encourage those that you know to come in and talk to us about these opportunities that are available. I will yield the rest of my time back to the moderator.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. I want to thank the panelists for their brief but informative presentation. Before we continue with question and answer, I would like to recognize Mr. Stedman Truss, Cabinet Secretary. And for those who are viewing and don't know me, because I recognize I did not introduce myself, I am Latoya Jones, Special Advisor to the Premier on Community Matters. So we're going to open the floor for questions. Those who are viewing on our live stream, you too can share your questions with us. And we will try our best to answer as many questions as possible. The floor is now open. Okay. We frequently see promotion for small and medium-sized enterprises, which is fantastic. What specific programs does the government have in place to support and nurture these businesses so they can thrive? Honorable Premier, that is your question.
That's an excellent question, and thank you for the opportunity. We have been trying various strategies to encourage small business, to promote small business. During the COVID-19 pandemic, which now seems a distant memory, one of the responses was that we approached our friends, the government of Taiwan, and we borrowed from them $5 million. And we said, we developed a program where we would use that $5 million to make small loans available to what we call small micro businesses, whether to start or to expand. And we did something interesting. We said we would limit those who could access those loans to youth and women, because based on the analysis that we had done, those two demographics were being underserved. So let us, for example, imagine that you are a youngster, you're 22 years old. You have a brilliant idea for a business, but guess what? If you went to a bank in Charlestown, they want life insurance, they want a detailed business plan, they want collateral, they want you to put up a piece of land or something for the loan. They want to know what your income stream is going to be. They may want a guarantor for the loan. And a lot of young people just couldn't manage that. And so we said, listen, let us develop something and allow our women. If you're a woman, you know how to cook well, you can hear well, you have a skill that you want to market and to monetize. The idea was, how do we do that? And so we decided that we would lend up to $100,000. It is the cheapest money that's available in the Federation because it's only at 3%. And the idea really is to create a revolving fund so that as monies are lent and repaid, other people can be assisted. That is one way, Madam Moderator, that we have tried to assist small businesses to give them some breathing space, understanding that it is difficult for some people to access funds from the traditional sources in terms of the main street banks. We have also done, and in fact you yourself, Madam Chair, have done a lot of work in terms of training. We have had an ongoing effort at training and inculcating in our people, particularly our small business owners, best business practices, bookkeeping, how it is they ought to manage, customer service. All of these are factors. I myself have had the privilege of speaking at a few of these seminars. So we have had a continuous process of training and retraining in terms of business. What else have we done? We've offered some tax concessions. Since COVID, the unincorporated business tax, which was usually at 4%, I believe it was, has been cut in half to 2%. And that has remained that way, I'm advised, up until today. So we have not increased or gone back to what that used to be. Now, the UBT is important because that's the tax that most small businesses would have to pay. And it's normally 4% of their gross. It is now 2% and has remained at 2%. We also have assisted in terms of working through the STEP program to get assistance in terms of labor for a lot of small businesses. We have given assistance, Madam Chair, at the port in terms of import duties. Small businesses are still accessing duty-free access for vehicles and transportation, critical implements for their business, at least at the startup stage. I think a tremendous effort in trying to support small businesses and trying to help them grow. The latest thing that we have done is really we are now going to the small businesses. You might have seen some videos all around of various ministers. I myself have gone where we at no cost. So this is all an effort by the government to provide the framework, provide the environment for small businesses to flourish.
Thank you, Honourable Premier. Honourable Spencer Brown would like to add.
I just wanted to add one additional advantage that we have sought to assist our small business with. At the Labor Department, we have created this employment agency mechanism where some of these very small businesses may have been in the market to try and find persons to take up some employment that were available within those small businesses. And the Labor Department has been able to identify perhaps some of the better talents to fit some of those vacancies. So we were able to provide that service as well to the small business sector that has helped them out to attract the kind of employment that they were seeking for as well.
Thank you, Honourable Brand. Now, Honourable Brand, the next question is for you. We are moving along because I did receive a number of questions and we are limited for time. So I'm trying to get through the questions as best as I can. Now, there have been concerns about underground pipes leaking in the Jessups and Bansgott area. Are there any plans to install new underground pipes before upcoming road work?
That's a vexed issue, I must speak frankly. When the Jessups Road was constructed many years ago, I don't think that the powers of the day saw the wisdom in removing some of those old pipes that were in place at the time. So what we now have is that every time there is perhaps even a large truck passing in Jessups, they are going to create some on those pipes and cause some breakage. We have looked at it for some time now, and we feel that it is something that is absolutely necessary. It is causing and costing the government significant sums ever so often. Almost every month, every other month, water department is in Jessups fixing some broken pipes. We have looked at the possibility of having to remove all of those old pipes in Jessups, from the Island Main Road all the way around to the top of Barnesgate, where that section is. We have not necessarily formulated a project or conceptualized the entire scope of the project yet, but it is something that we know needs to be done and it must be done. Once we are able to remove all of those old pipes, of course we'll have to resurface the road. So that is a project in itself that we'll have to conceptualize and get done. But it is, for me, it's a vexing issue, to be honest.
Thank you, Honorable Brand, for addressing that matter. I move along to Honorable Troy Liburd. Many residents believe that the cotton ground playfield, which is often used by the community, lacks necessary amenities such as bathrooms and changing rooms. What is being done to address this issue?
Thank you for that question, Madam Chair. Of course, you know that the Department of Sports is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of our sporting facilities on Nevis. And we do have quite a lot of facilities that we have been looking over. We are aware of the fact that there have been requests for dressing rooms and so on at that particular field. It is something that we are looking at in terms of that field. We're also looking at some upgrades to the tennis courts and so on that are just back here. So we do have things in place that we are looking at for the fields in the St. Thomas's area in particular, since we're in St. Thomas's.
Thank you. Questions on the floor?
Good evening. May I ask two questions? Thank you. The first question is related to the hospital. The hospital, as we say in Barbados, the hospital. This is not about buildings or doctors. This is about visiting time. We are aware that a good part of the healing process is the visitation of family members to the patients. It is rather helpful. And I find that in our hospital, we do not have enough time for visitation. I would like you to seriously consider that, because I've worked in jurisdictions where visiting time was all day, every day. And it was quite helpful for family members to sit with the patients for hours. I know because of the staff, you might not be able to do all day, every day. But surely the time that we have now is far from adequate. So I would like you to seriously consider that. My second concern is the library. I know I might be the only person here who's a member of the public library, because I go there often. I've never seen 5 people there when I'm there. It's often I'm by myself, or it's Daniel who lives in the gazebo, he and I. Back in the 60s when I first joined the library, I'll borrow a book for 2 weeks. Now today, I borrow a book, it's still 2 weeks. I'm like, why is it 2 weeks? There's no great demand for these books that I'm reading. I borrowed a book earlier in this year, 796 pages, and they gave me 2 weeks. I'm not a magician, so I keep having to, every 2 weeks I go back and renew and renew and renew. And does anybody else come to borrow it? No. So I would like you, Honorable Mr. Liebert, please consider extending. I've borrowed books in libraries elsewhere, and it's a month. And in those areas, I could borrow 2 or 3 books, you get a month. I mean, 2 weeks is far from adequate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, no, well.
Thank you for your questions and for your feedback. Mrs. Scarborough had a question.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Liebert, I know you spoke about plans in place with regards to a facility or changing facility bathrooms at the Cotton Ground play field. However, my question is, let me state this first. We have an old building, police station, that has been vacant for years. Has all the facilities in there that no one has been using for years. My question is, can't some arrangements be made for the young persons in our community to use that facility until the Nevis Island administration can give us that big pavilion with a very nice changing room underneath? The other thing is, every Sunday morning, we have quite a bunch of young men who come from out of the village as well, out of our community, to play football. So you find the football field is being used every Sunday morning from probably 7 o'clock to 11, 12 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, some of these same young men in their 30s, 20s, early 30s, also use that same playing facilities for children in primary school. Problem they have is that they've been turning back persons who don't, especially young girls who are interested in football, they've been turning them back on Sundays because there's no facilities for them to use in terms of going to the bathroom. The young ladies in the community in Cotton Ground can go, but those from outside the community cannot think. I think this is something good because it keeps our young persons entertained, keeps them busy, keeps them out of trouble, and at the same time, it also encourages our young men, young ladies in their mid-30s, late 20s, to be what we call them, mentors or guiders of these young persons. So if you can tap into that old police station that has been sitting there for almost 2 decades, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Scarborough, I want to thank you for your question and for your intervention. I think interventions like this are exactly the reason why we are having these town hall meetings. Quite a lot of what you have just brought to the fore, I would have never heard, before. I think some of it is very interesting, the fact that we have young persons, young females who would want to take part in football, and because of the fact that the facilities are not there, that they're being turned back, I guess that is a situation that we would want to try and rectify as soon as possible. As it relates to the old police station, though, I would want to turn that over to the Premier because, as you know, the police is more of a federal matter, but when it comes to Nevis, the Premier would have a little bit of say with the police, so I would turn that over to him.
Thank you very much for the question. I can tell you that on the issue of a facility, at Cotton Ground, I think that there has already been some preliminary work in terms of design. So if you saw Minister Brand whispering to me, it was him whispering, saying that it really is a project that ought not to take a whole lot to get done. And so I'm prepared to commit tonight to the good people of St. Thomas's that we will get that done. What I will say in relation to the police, the old police station, we have been going back and forth in terms of the use of that building, because technically it is still the police that have control. And even though they have a new facility there at Cotton Ground, they continue to insist that they need this building, that they don't want the building to be lost to them because they have use for it. So it is something that we need to go back and look at. But given the commitment on the facility at the playing field, we'll have to look and see whether or not it makes sense for us to spend money to renovate that old building, or just move and do what we need to do on the Cotton Ground playing field. But I want to say to the people of Cotton Ground, we hear you, we understand Cotton Ground is one of the areas in Nevis, the villages that has produced the most sports people, especially cricket. Brown Hill is a little better than them, but that's a different story, right? No, well, government road, yeah, okay. You know? So it is certainly a commitment that we're prepared to make. So if there's one good thing coming out of this meeting, we're making that commitment. Let me just mention the library. Mr. Father Rollins, I'm surprised. I didn't know people still use library. I thought most people were online and getting their books from Kindle and all kinds of things, you know. So it's interesting to hear. Maybe it is still 2 weeks because the level of usage, the level of attention being paid in terms of checking out books and checking in books has been less. But it's certainly something I think we can look at because that's an easy fix. In relation to the time at the hospital, that's an interesting observation that you've made. And I agree with you that as part of the healing process, having family around is important. But I think what we've been trying to do is to balance the needs of the visitors with, of course, the needs of the staff and the medical professionals there to do the job that they need to do. Oftentimes when it's time for meals, it's time for medication, it's time for care, that it is difficult, of course, to do that when people, outsiders are there. So that's part of it. And then certainly I know during COVID and lingering after COVID, there was also the risk, there's always the risk of people from an environment outside the hospital, which is a non-sterile environment, coming into the hospital and what could happen in terms of bringing whatever with them when they come. As you know, the hospital's wards that we have are fairly open. And so I think that all of those are concerns. But what I will say to you is that I do agree that we need to continually look at and revise our policies. It was not so long ago that we had a significant blow-up in social media about someone who tried to go to the flamboyant home to see a loved one. And they were told they could not because it was not visiting time. Things like that, we really do need some flexibility built in. I think that particular individual was visiting from abroad, and that was the only opportunity that they would have. So we do need some flexibility. We do need to look at these policies. Some of them are quite ancient and have existed since time immemorial, and we need to continually improve. Just as we're improving in terms of our doctors and our nurses and our skill sets and our equipment, we also need to improve in terms of our policies.
Mike. Thank you, Honorable Premier. I hope everyone heard him when he says he committed. I'm happy he has committed, and I know that this administration will deliver not only for the people of St. Thomas's, but also for the entire populace of Nevis. Housing is a significant issue in the area. What plans does the government have to create more affordable housing options for the residents of St. Thomas? Question is open.
So I'm going to take that question. We're not here to try to say things that are not true. I think all of us sitting in here understand that just by the way that the island has developed, you have villages, say Barnesgate. Barnesgate is sandwiched in an area which all around Barnesgate is some of the most expensive real estate on the island. I looked at a piece of land not far, just there in paradise. And the quotation they gave me was $10.50 US per square foot. So if the government is to buy that, who going to afford to buy it? Who going to afford to buy it from the government? So as much as I would like to sit here in St. Thomas's and tell the people of St. Thomas's, listen man, don't worry, we're going to bring more housing. We can't build the housing in the sky. We have to find land to build the housing on. And unless there are people in St. Thomas's who are landowners who are prepared to say, listen, for the good of the country, we're prepared to sell you land at a reasonable price so that the government can provide housing, there's very little that we can do. Because even if we were to go to some landowners and decide that we will compulsorily acquire their land, the law says that we must pay market value. So we're back to square one at 10 and 15 US dollars a square foot. It is a very difficult position to be in. What I will say is that in the context of Barnes-Gut, we have been trying to negotiate. In fact, I think we have come to an agreement to do a land swap with a landowner in the area who we are prepared to give them some land that government owns elsewhere in order for some land in the Barnes-Gut area. And through that, we hope to expand. That process was well in train. We came to a halt because the lands that he identified that he wants in exchange, those lands are caught up in this confusion with Trinidad and the bank in Trinidad and all that happened. That was before our time. I'm not here for the politics, but bad decisions have consequences, and that's one of the consequences. So we are dealing with that to see how we can extricate those lands to make them available for that land swap. But beyond that, you know, when you look at St. Thomas's, where are we going to go? From Jessups, if you head towards Charlestown, you're going into Four Seasons. We can't afford that. If you go up the hill, you're going into Fern Hill, you're going into where? Newfoundlands. We can't afford that. You come into Barnes-Gut now, I see some big fence and thing put up in Barnes-Gut because somebody went and bought lands over there, but the price of the lands is the difficulty. And we need land if we're going to do housing. So, Ms. Jones, I will add this. And every community, every village, every constituency, every parish is clamoring for more. That's just the nature, and we understand that. But when we look at the island, we have to now start to look at, listen, where do we have the land that we can provide housing for people? I understand cotton grown people want to stay in cotton grown. I understand Jessups people want to stay in Jessups. But if you don't have any land in Jessups to build housing, Jessups people must start to say, well, listen, maybe we can consider Charlestown, if there's land, Hamilton. And it brings me to a good point that I want to raise tonight. That we will shortly be coming to you with somewhere in the region of 150 or so lots of land in Ghana's estate. Nowhere Nevis is far, so I want you to consider. So Ghana's estate is up above VOJN. It's beautiful lands over there. And we bought some 36 acres of land that we are currently subdividing. And we will be offering those lands to Nevisians at home and abroad to purchase, to build their home at whenever time they choose. I say that to say this, ladies and gentlemen, that we are trying our very best to provide land. We want everybody to own a piece of the rock. But sometimes it is virtually impossible to do so in the village that you're from. If you're in Cotton Ground, where are you going to move to in terms of additional space? Additional lands. We're in Cotton Ground, we're going to find lands. We already developed Cohoons. So where else are you going to go? Jessups. Yeah, but you must ask the price. You must ask the price. That is, there's land, you know, right? But you, realistically, we're in Jessups now. Where in Jessups would you go for an expansion of Jessups? You know? Where would you go? So these are just some of the practical constraints that we have. And what I would say to the good people of St. Thomas is, listen, Nevis is small. Look at St. James. Look at St. John's. Look at Gingerland. Gingerland have more land than people. right? So I think we need to probably take a different view about development and to say to our people, listen, you may not be able to get a plot of land next to your family home where you grew up, but you might be able to get a plot of land in the next parish and build a home and have a future for yourself. So I wish, Madam Chair, I could give a better answer, but I'm trying to be as practical as I can.
Thank you for your feedback, Honorable Premier. I've been checking my devices because I am receiving questions as we go along. I've received a few questions regarding education. So this is for Honorable Troy Liebert. Many of our schools are in urgent need of repair and modernization. What specific plans or timelines does the ministry have to upgrade school infrastructure and ensure safe, well-equipped learning environments for students and teachers? And that's one question. The other, what are the plans for repairing the St. Thomas's Primary School?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I note that you would have gotten this question from online, but this sounds like a question that you would ask also, Madam Chair, because I know that you're very passionate about education, and in particular, you're very passionate about the St. Thomas's Primary School, and this is something that you would regularly ask me. And for the benefit of the public, the school facilities here on Nevis, we want to ensure that our schools are a safe learning zone for our young people. We know that when our children come to school, that we want them to be in a good environment. We have several schools here on the island of Nevis, primary schools, secondary schools, and each and every one of them have to get some attention. Oftentimes when I go to a school, the parents, the teachers, people who are interested in a particular school, they will point out every single issue that's wrong with the school. And we know that every school has issues. And so what we try to do is to use the resources that we have, because we are a government with limited resources, and those resources have to be shared between all of the different ministries. Education, we don't get all of the resources. I would love if we could get the entire budget for 1 year, right, Premier? Then we could do, what I would say, we could do miraculous things to our schools, but we know that that's not the case. In terms of the St. Thomas's Primary School, there are some challenges with the school. And one of the big challenges that we have with the St. Thomas's Primary School is the material from which the school was built back in the day. It makes it a bit difficult to upgrade. It was built with a type of soft, galvanized material, and so it's kind of difficult to work with. But we have been trying our best. We know that, in particular, there's a need for the upgrades in terms of the windows and so on, and that's something that we are working on. So it's a school that is near and dear to me. I have a son that's at the school, and not just because of my son, but I would want the school to be in the best possible condition. So like Madam Chair, I am very passionate about St. Thomas's Primary School, and so we do have some works that we are planning to do there over the summer. What we try to do is every single year, we try to ensure that during the summer months when students are out from school, that we do as much upgrades as we can to our schools. I hope that's a satisfactory answer.
Thank you, Honorable Troy Liebert. We have another question on the floor.
Good night. Since we are on about school and education, I'm the chef of St. James's, And I have a great concern. The computer room is not in access. Every child have a computer, every teacher have a computer. My concern is, can you all turn that same computer room into a cafeteria? Because the kids go back to their classes to eat lunch. Sometimes they ain't make it to the class. They come back. Auntie D, me dumpling roll out me plate. Auntie D, me fall down. And sometimes they go to this class, they are not supervised because you know everybody on lunch. So what I will do, I will have them sit, some of them sit, on the step, which is not, to me, is not good enough. They need to sit to a table and a chair so that they can be supervised. Okay? So you need a cafeteria for the children. St. James's does not have that. And the other thing is, as we are going into a long break for summer, I know the kitchen, there are some challenges I face as the chef. Most of the time, I have to stay on the outside. There are some little extractor fans in the windows, not pushing out enough heat. So it's like my pot does be unattended most times because I have to be on the outside. This is a long summer. Honorable Troy, can you please look into where you can get an extractor fan, break out a wall on the mountainside and put in an extractor to pull that heat from out the kitchen, because what happened, you will have to soon send a painter to the kitchen because what happened, there is nothing going out. So all the steam and exhaust is building in the roof. What happens, the grease is in the roof. So you'll have to do scrubbing and painting very soon. Okay? So please work on that for me, please, and thank you.
Let me ask a question. The pot that you leave unattended is the one with the dumpling?
Well, it does be the one with the dumpling, the one with the chicken, it does be all. So please put it into some great consideration during the summer so that it can be fixed. Thank you.
I want to thank you for that intervention, and I want to commit to getting that extractor for you over the summer. So I see the PS is here, so I hope she makes so that we don't lose track of it. In terms of what you said about the computer room and the possibility of turning it into a cafeteria, the computer room is something that we are looking at upgrading. We're actually looking at putting in the computers there this summer. That is something that we have been speaking about with IT. I am totally in agreement with you that we need some place for the children to sit and eat. As I think we would all be aware, when these schools were built, it wasn't contemplated that, that they would have cafeterias and we would have the type of lunch program that we have in our schools right now, because we have a really developed lunch program. In fact, we've had people come in from around the region and they have sought to study our lunch program to emulate it in other areas. But technology, in terms of the uptake and the use of technology, that's where we are heading with our young people. As you would know, I think about a month and a half ago, we gave out about 1,000 devices here on the island of Nevis to our primary school children and our lower secondary students, and our upper secondary, 4th form and 5th form students. They're actually going to be getting full-blown laptops, and we are going to be giving those to them when school opens in September. But for the lower school students, they were given what you call Chromebooks and tablets. Over 1,000 of them were given to our young people. So every child in Nevis now has access to a technology device. And we don't just want to give them the devices, we want to teach them how to use the devices properly. We want to incorporate the devices in their regular learning cycle, because we know that in the past, we used to both say in Nevis that we have 98% literacy. But what we have realized is that it's not enough now in this modern world to just be able to read and write. But our young people, the next coming generation, they are going to have to be proficient on using technology and so on. And I think that we have jumped ahead here in Nevis by ensuring that all of our young people, that they have these devices, and not just that they have them, but that we are going to be showing them how to be using them, and including that in the education that we are delivering to them. Yeah, so we're going to work on the lunchroom. All of that to say that we're going to look around and see where we can use as a proper lunchroom. So you'll probably see me and some others come to the school soon. Okay?
A question to add to that: how soon will renovations commence to prepare the school for reopening in September?
Renovations will commence as soon as school. Well, I would say in some schools we have already started. So renovations have commenced, but they will pick up in full as soon as school is over. I think that will be next week, Friday. So as soon as the following week after that, once I can get the blessing of the cabinet and the Minister of Finance, because we have to make sure that, you know, everything that we do is, you know, well done.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Liebert. I know I'm passionate about getting things done in St. Thomas's, but these questions are coming in, and I'm trying to put forth the questions as best as I can. There's a question on the floor? Yes. Okay.
Good evening to everyone. Mr. Liebert, back to you again. In light of recent cybersecurity breach on the NIA, the federal government has launched a cybersecurity program, and there are a lot of youngsters who just finished sixth form. I'm trying to find out if any of those students was enrolled in the program, because the federal government was asking for 100 students to start the program, and I don't think they get 100.
You have caught me off guard, because I was not aware of the federal government's program. It's something that I'm certainly going to have a look at and see what it is about. Of course, we take our cybersecurity here on Nevis very seriously. We had a breach, I think it was a year and something ago. It happened in January, 2 years ago. We have not had a breach since that. The particular, what was it, a Trojan horse? The particular intrusion that we had was something that was specifically geared toward the type of system that we have deployed here in Nevis. Since that, we have done quite a lot to make our system a lot more robust. So we don't expect that we would have a similar type of intrusion here in Nevis. But what they're doing on St. Kitts is certainly something that I'm going to take a look at. And if young persons from Nevis can benefit, then we would want them to.
Thank you for that response. From the live stream, the children population in Barnsgot is growing, and they've been seen playing football in the road, which is very dangerous. How about some form of recreational ground in Barnsgot for them? Recreational ground in Barnsgot.
Again, we can't do the recreational ground in the air, so we need to find space where we're going to put it. And I know sometimes this response is unpopular, but I like to be practical. Barnsgot is 5-minute walk away from Cotton Ground. 5 minutes. There's a huge field in Cotton Ground with basketball, tennis, cricket, football. Why would the government go and spend money at $10 a square foot to buy land in the Barnesgut area just so Barnesgut could say they have a playing field when there's one 5 minutes away? Maybe these are not popular things to say, but we have to be realistic. The government doesn't have the resources, unlimited resources that we would have something. If the people of Barnesgut walk left, they end up in Jessups. And we have to just confront it head on. I had a meeting the other day with the Chamber of Commerce. And a businessman there said that his company, a large company, offered a job to a young person coming out of school. He said when they told the young person how much a job pays, the mother said, "Me horse now leak and you're not hungry. You're not going to work with nobody with them kind of money there." And so the child went back home, go sit down. So again, these may not be things that people find palatable or popular to say, but we have to look at what is happening and the realities of what is happening. A lot of our people, I think one of my colleagues shared with me that a constituent said to them that the child homeless. And we have to be realistic with our people and have real conversations with our people. That's not the way life works. I spoke to a gentleman just last night who said to me that he's aware that there were people who emerged eventually as the head of TDC, who emerged eventually as the head of TDC, who started out in TDC as messengers.
Yep.
They started as a messenger. They end up being the managing director of the company. Because you have to start somewhere. Oh, look, the roof now leaks, so stop home. I don't think that's helpful. So that's my view on it. We continue to generate opportunities for employment in government, in the private sector, but a lot of times we just need our people to apply. And that's what we need to continue to do. I was, Madam Chair, is that sometimes because we are concerned that we may not get the job, we don't bother to apply. And the job, we don't bother to apply. And my father of blessed memory used to tell me that if you don't apply, then you guarantee you can't get the job. So a lot of
various businesses, and only 75 out of those 220 persons were actually employed. Work with me. 107 businesses were looking for people to work. Keep that figure in mind. 220 persons were referred to those 107 businesses. Only 75 persons were employed. Now, as the Minister of Labor, that is scary and that is frightening. We are in the process of doing a much more expansive investigation as to why is it that only 75 persons out of 220 persons were actually employed. And some of the preliminary information that is coming forward is that a lot of these persons are not serious about work. I am going to put it as plain as I can. They are not serious about work. And as a government, we try to create the necessary environment for persons to be employed. And when the opportunity are at their doorsteps, in their hands, they are not serious about it. I want to use this forum here in Jessups to say to our people that there are opportunities the length and breadth of this country, right? Social security numbers keep trending in the right direction, where persons are, where employment are available. And there are opportunities for people to take up those vacancies and those employment. Even within, sometimes within the government setup, there are some vacancies. And oftentimes we try to find persons to fill some of those vacancies. And it is absolutely difficult to find persons. It is up to these folks who are looking for employment to take up these opportunities seriously. Because I can say to you, St. Kitts and Nevis has, in my mind, perhaps one of the highest minimum wage. And I believe that soon and very soon, that minimum wage is going to be adjusted again very shortly. Right? So I am making this appeal to our people. Take up those opportunities because you can make a substantial living from gainful employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Brand. Our last question. I'm amazed at how time flies when you're doing good things. It is often said that construction is booming in Nevis. What incentives has the government provided to homeowners and businesses that are constructing or renovating?
Tell Colin come answer the question. Tell Colin come answer the question.
They were saying that I ought to let P.S. Doe answer because the truth is that there's no better time to build than right now on the island of Nevis. We have a full package of concessions that is on offer for those who are here wanting to build, for those who are overseas in our diaspora who want to build something here. We have duty-free concessions, we have VAT-free access, we have a number of concessions. In fact, that we have a returning national policy for those coming in, but we also have concessions for those who are here. In fact, the concession used to be only for first-time homeowners. We've changed that. We've now even extended concessions to you if you have a home already, but you're expanding your home. So there could be no excuse in terms of building. This is a good time for people to build. If you are thinking of building, you want some assistance, please go in and see the good people at the Ministry of Finance, and they will guide you through the process.
Thank you. We are now at the end, and I'm going to ask each panelist to give their wrap-up.
Madam Chair, I want to say thank you to, of course, the good folks from St. Thomas's Parish who would have availed themselves of this town hall meeting. I believe that we have had some very wonderful questions, and I want to say to St. Thomas's that we continue to remain steadfast in ensuring that development takes place throughout the entire island of Nevis. And St. Thomas's is, of course, a part of Nevis. I want to say to the various listeners as we traverse the island into various communities that I'm extending an invitation to all those in the various communities to attend these town hall. This is our way of reporting to you. This is our way of giving you access to your government to ask any question that you want to ask. And we are indeed delighted to make ourselves available to you, the general public. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Honorable Brand, Honorable Liban.
Thank you very much. I think this is a wonderful exercise. I've certainly learned a few things. I've gotten a few suggestions. Mrs. Scarborough, I remember you, certainly. And Andy, of course. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the general public to certainly come out and interact with the government. Oftentimes we hear people, they go to the bars and they go to the different places and they would criticize the government, but this is an opportunity to come out and to actually interact with the government. If you have questions, ask questions, and if there are things that are burning issues for you, you can come out and bring them to us, and we can certainly try our best to answer the questions and to effect the necessary change where we need to do that. Right? So I think that that this is a good experience, and I look forward to the other town hall meetings. Madam Chair didn't hold back. She didn't keep the hard questions and ask the easy ones. I think she brought the difficult questions here tonight, and so I'm hopeful for the other town hall meetings that the public would want to come out and hear from the government and, of course, bring your issues. Thank you.
It's left only for me to say thank you. Thank you for being here. For those who are viewing online, thank you for viewing. This is an exercise in democracy. It's an exercise in transparency. We have said and continue to say that we are the most transparent government this island has ever had. We are always available, and this town hall engagement is yet another example to another avenue, I ought to say, to allow our people an opportunity to interact, to share their ideas, to share their concerns. And so I thank the good people of St. Thomas's, and I too encourage others to come out at the other town hall meetings that we will have across the island of Nevis. Thank you. Get home safely. God bless you. And I think we have some refreshments that are available for you tonight.
Questions are still coming in, I see. But we're now at the end of our town hall meeting. I must say it was a fruitful discussion. We want to thank everyone for coming here this evening and for all those who tune in online. We are truly grateful for your participation. To the good people of St. Thomas's, I would continue to advocate on your behalf, and I will continue to hold their feet to the fire. Right? We have some refreshments, but we want to thank everyone for coming, and we look forward to seeing you at our next town hall meeting at the Franklin Brown Community Center in St. James Parish on Monday 7th at 7 p.m. We are encouraging the people of St. James to come out in your numbers and to hear our ideas, projects that the government offer, but also to share your ideas and issues with us. Thanks once again for coming.
Premier of the island of Nevis. We have put together a compilation of various projects done on this island over the last decade and a half. The idea is to showcase all that we've done in terms of our infrastructure, our business development, and the quality of life for our people. We welcome you home. Enjoy Nevis. This is your island. This is your home.
educational journey over at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant on St. Kitts. I then went over to Switzerland, where I studied at Washington State University, and just recently I completed my last certificate at the Together in Perfect Harmony. I envision Nevis becoming a true luxury destination, and I believe that I would be able to advance Nevis together in that direction. There are so many different rewards that I gain every single day from building my life here on Nevis and my career here on Nevis. First of all, I have an opportunity every day to wake up passionately to do something that I love. Not only do I get to do something that I love, but I get to do that with other Nevisians, and we both love it together as we all try to serve our guests in the best way possible to help to advance our tourism product.